Greetings, friends. Greetings, Earthlings. Uh, I usually don't make more than one video a week, but I thought I would drop one today because there's been something blowing up on social media a little bit, and Christian social media, which is like that much of social media. And it's about Jesus didn't laugh. I mean, what kind of party pooper says stuff like that, right? I have problems with that. I don't know if you do, but I do. Now, my claim is that Jesus laughed. And also my claim is that Jesus tells jokes in the gospel. Probably more than I'm going to bring up to you, but I'm going to bring up a couple. So the first joke that I want to mention is in the beginning of St. John's Gospel, chapter 2. And if you know your Holy Bible, you will know that that's the wedding at Cana. And I'll just read it to you. Let's find the joke, shall we? On the third day, there was a wedding at Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. I mean, they're there for a party, and they're drinking. This is fun, right? When the wine gave out, I guess they drank a lot of wine if it gave out, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what concern is that to you and me? My hour is not yet come." And then his mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Now, that's a joke. I mean, both telling jokes there. It's like family humor, dry humor, where they have no wine. Talk about subtext. She doesn't even say, "Would you mind? Would you mind helping out a little bit?" She said, "They have no wine." You know. And Jesus, "Oh, Ma, it's not time yet," right? And then she doesn't even answer him. She didn't, she tells the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Because basically the subtext there is, "Okay, Mr. Divinity, Mr. Son of the Living God, let's see. You can't do this for your mother?" But I think it's funny. And of course, the humor in it is never pointed out. Now, there is, I don't know if you've seen the movie, and I love this movie, The Last Temptation of Christ. Heresy alert. We should get the little flashing thing. Heresy, heresy, heresy at the bottom of the page. In The Last Temptation of Christ, in the wedding at Cana scene, it's beautiful. When they run out of wine, it's Nathaniel in the film and in the book. It comes to Jesus. My cousins, they ran out of wine. They ordered wine for 2 days, and it's the third day. And Jesus tells them, "Well, what's in those jars over there?" And Nathaniel says, "It's water. I put it there myself." "No, it's wine. Go look." I'm telling you, it's water." "No, it's wine. Go look." So he goes over there, draws some out, and takes a drink. It's wine. And he looks over at Jesus, and Jesus is like, "Cheers," which I think is that's a beautiful image. I love that image. So going back to the Gospels, another place where there it is in Luke chapter 10. When the 70 return from doing miracles in Jesus' name, they come back and they come back with joy, saying, "Lord, in your name even the demons submit to us." And he said to them, "I watched Satan fall like lightning." Right? "See, I've given you authority," and that's the joke. See? Oh, whoa! Look who's so important, right? But he tells the joke to diffuse their pride a little bit. I mean, it's a normal thing. People do that kind of thing. I imagine, "Look, I did some stuff, man. Check it out. I'm doing magic." But Jesus is like, "Oh, wow. I saw Satan fall like lightning." But then he says, "I have given you," where did he go? "Authority to tread on snakes and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing will hurt you. Nonetheless, do not rejoice at this, that the spirits submit to you, but rejoice that your names are written in heaven." Right? So he starts with a joke and diffuses it. And if you think these aren't jokes, all I'm saying is one thing: come at me, bro. The last one I want to look at in the gospel is with Peter. This is in Matthew's gospel. And so we know Peter is the one, the reason he's the rock is because Jesus says, well, who do you say I am? Right? Jesus says, Peter says, you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. And Simon, Simon, son of Jonah, flesh and blood does not reveal this to you, but my Father in heaven, right? And now you will be called Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church. Now, so that happens, and then right after that, this happens. From that time on, Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and undergo great suffering at the hands of the elders and chief priests and scribes and be killed, and on the third day be raised. And Peter took him aside. I like that. I'm taking him aside. Come over here. To rebuke, and began to rebuke him, saying, God forbid it, Lord. This must never happen to you. But he turned and said to Peter, get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me, for you are setting your mind not on divine things, but on human things. Now, I think that's also a joke. Because he doesn't think Peter's Satan. That's hyperbole, right? And I don't think you could say that it's Satan that's speaking through Peter. Well, maybe, but I would say that Jesus is using hyperbole, which is a form of humor, which is a metaphoric use of humor, to make his point, which is that's what I mean. There are a lot of things humor is used for, but that's one thing that's used for, especially if we know it deflates vanity, right? And Peter was probably feeling, well, I'm the rock. Check me out. I'm the rock. And Jesus is, oh, brother, what did I say that for? Because just how it is, people. I am so sorry. Now, with this whole Jesus never laughed stuff, that I think, and I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems to have originated from Jonathan Pageau, who is a guy I know and like quite a bit. But I don't know. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. But another thing, and I want to turn not to the canonical scriptures, but to the Gnostic scriptures, where Jesus, he probably tells jokes. I don't know how many jokes off the top of my head that he tells, but he dances, right? And we know, and he's ridiculed as a wine drinker, right? They practically call him a drunkard. He's going to parties all the time, right? And he is going to parties all the time in the gospel, right? And people are like, he's going to parties. That's not fitting. That's not what holy people do, right? Sound familiar? Yes, it's what Puritans were doing. It's what our current day Puritans do as well. So I'm gonna hold back for a second. Let me read you a little. Now, this is actually in my book, Sophia in Exile, available at fine booksellers everywhere. And it's my chapter on Eleanor Fargen, and I talked about her book Trees the other day in the video I did on 11 essential books. And that's actually, I'm going to quote from one of her books here. Now, from Trees, the one I talked about in that video. Now, just to preface this, in Fargen's work, especially her earlier work, Pan, like the Greek god Pan, whose name means all, is a metaphor or a cipher for Christ. Just so you know that. And in Trees, I'm just going to read what I said. In her delightful little book Trees, Fargen acts the role of fabulist that further illuminates her point in a more joyous cadence than in her book Pan Worship, which is a book of poetry. I think one might have been her first book. Her story is one of an encounter with Kronos, god of time, with the hoofed one, her words. Kronos is deadly serious and rational. Not so his interlocutor. And here begins the quote. Have you then found a bigger star than mine? Cried the old one in alarm, with many moons and brighter hoops of fire. What were you doing while we were raking the firmament? And Pan answers, dancing, old bones, dancing. And where? on earth with man, my brother. No, that's the kind of God I want. I don't have any, I have no use for a God who can't laugh or dance. I just don't, right? And that's the God of the Puritans. That's not the God. That's not God. And he says later, and now I'll read some where I actually quote from, I think it's the Apocryphon of John. Yep, the Acts of John from the Gnostic Scriptures. Christ is not only a dancing God in Fargen's eyes. In the apocryphal Acts of John, the Lord leads the apostles in a dance on Holy Thursday, a ritual of great beauty and wonder. There, Jesus tells them, "Before I am delivered up to them, let us sing a hymn to the Father, and go forth to what lieth before us." So he commanded us to make, as it were, a ring, holding one another's hands, and himself standing in the middle. He then begins to sing and lead them in a dance. "Grace is dancing. I would pipe, dance all of you. Amen, I would warn, lament all of you. Amen." Jesus reveals to them that the dance is itself the cross, the axis of the world. And he tells them that this is a mystery. And of course, long after the composition of the Acts of John, Jesus was memorialized in similar terms by folk tradition in the hymn, "Tomorrow shall be my dancing day," which begins, "Tomorrow shall be my dancing day. I would my true love did so chance, to see the legend of my play, to call my true love to my dance. Then up to heaven I did ascend, where now I dwell in sure substance, on the right hand of God, that man may come unto the general dance." All right. So that's the whole point, right? Now, I don't know. I mean, it's just part of Christianity, kind of an underbelly. But sometimes it rises to ascendancy. This kind of I would not call it fundamentalism, but it's a kind of severity and austerity and cruelty that comes across. And Jonathan is Orthodox, and you see that now. I'm not saying this is Jonathan's thing, but you see it in a lot of what the guys we call the Ortho Bros, who embrace what I think is a very austere and self-abnegating, and people say, "What's a good thing?" Christianity. Which I don't think that's what Jesus is doing at all. I mean, he certainly embraces is probably, embraces the sorrow, but also the joys of life in his own martyrdom. But there's something life-denying in so much of this discourse, and I hate it. I think that's probably why I'm so attracted, as I mentioned before, to what's called Celtic Christianity, which doesn't have a tradition of martyrdom. It doesn't have that kind of maudlin, depressing. It's like that scene from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, when God appears. Oh, great one, we are so unworthy. Stop groveling. I hate it. Really. And those psalms are so depressing, right? There's some. I mean, it's psychologically, it's horrible. I mean, how can we not find a better way that embraces life? To be Christians, that's the message. So in so many places in the Old Testament and the New, I mean, the way, the truth, and the life, the Zoe. Can we not embrace that? In this puritanical streak, it's like the ugly stepsisters in Cinderella. It's very severe, and the attitude's ugly, and it punishes the innocent and the beautiful. And we were talking last time about Thomas Traherne, who talks about sin, but he doesn't dwell on it in a negative, I hate myself way. His problem with sin is we've been taught sin. We have to remove those clouds, and and see into the garden again as we did as children. That's Thomas Traherne's opinion. But yeah, I mean, just this whole thing is, I shouldn't say it upset me. It didn't really upset me. It's like, oh, just I rolled my eyes again because, and I think there's, well, and I've written about this, I think, in this book, in Sophie in Exile. There's a whole tradition of Christianity and I think this is what happened over the course of time, where once it got organized and starts being run by monks or by celibate priests, then celibacy becomes the high watermark. And for suckers who can't handle it, you can get married. And it's from a misreading in St. Paul. But all the things Jesus was, I mean, look at his life. I mean, you know, you're not far from the kingdom. And the people, he didn't castigate people, you know, the working people. He castigated the authorities who were placing burdens on the working people, right? Which is the same thing right now. And you've probably seen it before, and I've written about it before. There's a meme out there which says, how is it? Orthodoxy, Christianity, only tougher. As if fasting is an Ironman competition, you know, and it's very butch, isn't it? it's so butch. But can we not find our way into a life-affirming Christianity? I mean, it's out there. Can we not find that way? I set before you life and death. Choose life. Right? So that's probably good for today. I told you it would be kind of short, but just wanted to get that out there. And let me know what you think in the comments too. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. But yeah, let's have a Christianity that's not such a drag. Okay. Okay. All right. I'll see you next time. Go dance. Tell a joke.